3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash. Today's comic, Ascender, by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. I never know how to pronounce that name. I probably should learn how someday. It's Image Comic. It's a sequel to a big famous Image run that Jeff Lemire did called Descender. Quick disclaimer, I never read Descender. It looked cool. When I came into comics, it was already done. It's a big run to sort of get into. Yeah. So this came out just recently, and I decided to check out issue number 1, which this is. It has pretty art. Jeff Lemire's a solid writer when he's just writing good fiction and not doing anything else. What do you think, Stan? Yep, Stan approves. Stan, as always, guys, drink. What are you drinking today, Stan? Let me taste. RC Cola, good man. You got good taste, Stan. That's why he gave us so many good comics over the years. So let's get right into it. I hate when they do this. Storytellers. Jeff Lemire does. Which one's the writer? Which one's the artist? I don't know. They both are equal. It's just so pretentious. Like, we're both storytellers. We don't want anyone to get extra credit over the other. It's like, just, no. The whole reason for the credits is so that the audience can know who wrote it and who drew it. It's not so that you guys, I mean, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just, who cares about the lettering? Who cares about the cover? Who cares about the editor? Just throw all your names and say, we all just did this equally. Why don't you just do that? We want to know who did what. Anyways. This is a cool book. I really liked it, and I just skim read it. I read it about a month ago, or however many weeks ago, whenever this came out. And I just skim read it again to refresh my memory for the review. And it really stood up. I was like, man. And in some parts, I was like actually liking it more. So I'm going to review it as a total normie who did not read Descender, does not know the lore, the history. If you are a person who's a big Descender fan and you're like reading this, you're just like, oh, slap in your face because I'm going to say something that's totally ignorant of the original series. Just beware, okay? I'm going to review this as someone that is not already a big fan, right? If you're a big fan of Descender, you probably don't need to read my review. If you're a person who's just like, I never read it, I don't know, I just saw this on the store, should I get it? Do I need to know anything? That's where I come in. Knossos, formerly the smallest core planet of the United Galactic Council. That's pretty cool. Why is that cool, Ash? Well, we just got a picture of a tree. It's otherwise kind of boring, got a little bird on the branch or whatever, but it kind of grabs my attention. Ooh, planet, it's called Knossos, interesting name. Formerly the smallest core planet of the United Galactic Council. Who's this United Galactic Council? What am I in for? Oh, this must be some intergalactic story. Interesting. Now. Oh, that doesn't look good. Something's happened. Okay, so we see this dragon. I'm just going to call this a dragon. I know it's not a dragon. I'm going to call it dragon, okay? Beast flying through screen, and you got this nice scenery. And I have to say, I really like the art. This watercolor over line art. It's a cool technique. It's very pretty to look at. The aesthetic, it's nice. And here we see that beast now. It's like scree lands, and I just love this like look. It's like got this predatorial look. It's got a cool design. It appears to be like opening its mouth or something, and then out walks a person, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued. Mother, we were not expecting you. What Thobin means to say is that good to see you, Mother.
Have my ship fed. It has been a long flight.
You heard her, Vamps. Feed the ship. Yes, Master Frobin. It's like total. I'm obviously doing my little Emperor Palpatine impression because that's the vibe that this carries off. And so they're walking Mother to wherever, and they're talking. As you can see, Mother, the starship fields are flourishing. You're right. Really, dogs? Really? Oh. Ash doing a review. Let's just all start barking. So they're like, everything's going good. Fresh crop of ships should be ready for the harvest by the next moon. So here we learn, without any exposition, we learn that their technology is organic in the sense that it's based, ships are animals. There's no, actual spaceships. There's no hard science type thing going on.
Excellent. And the offensive on Nurata. General Vix, any progress there?
I shouldn't keep doing the Palpatine, especially since I'm not doing it very well. So we got the sycophant, of course, just saying everything we did, and we're introduced to Mother. Now, I'm a really big fan of evil women as villains. One of my favorite movies of all time. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, huge Star Wars nerd. But one of my favorite movies of all time, and what I jokingly often refer to as the 4th best Star Wars movie of all time, is Willow. Kind of bombed in the box office when it came out. People didn't get it or whatever. But if you watch it, it's Star Wars. Willow is the same exact formula that George Lucas did with Star Wars. You can even see the character composition. You've got the two brownies are R2 and 3PO. You've got Mad Mardigan as Han Solo. Eric Thofbear as Lando Calrissian, which are they're kind of old friends, but they're also old rivals and have a bitter history. You've got General Kale, the big general with the skull helmet, Darth Vader. Queen Bab Morta is the Emperor. Willow, of course, is Luke Skywalker. You've got the Finn Rizal, the wizard on the island that he ends up freeing. That's Yoda. He even has to go to a special. It's there's so many parallels to that movie. It's really, really quite interesting. Even the love interest, Mad Mardigan falls in love with Sorsha, and instead of Sorsha being Vader's daughter, which would be Kale, it's Bab Morta's daughter. So it's it's a couple little twistaroos. Unlike Leia, she doesn't start off good, but she becomes good. But the same pair. Anyways, I'm really on a virgin. But anyways, I love that. And this character, Bab Morta, the whole point of my whole story was that Bab Morta is a fantastic villain. Only really kind of surpassed by Palpatine in Star Wars. This character reminds me a lot of what I loved about Bab Morta. She's powerful. And what I like about the Emperor, too, to be honest. She's powerful, she's smart, and she's just diabolic. She isn't one of those sympathetic villains, like a Vader, or someone who's evil because they're misled. Vader wants to rule the galaxy because he genuinely believes he's the best, right? He's the only one fit to do it. Not because he wants to hurt people and cause misery, but he believes that the galaxy is lost to chaos and that under the hands of all these other people who think they're good, shit's happening. So he's I'll just seize control or I'll bring order to the galaxy. If you watch the films, shut up with your stupid deals. Why do I always do this and not turn off the alerts when I'm in a video? Because I'm an idiot. So this story reminds me a lot of Star Wars, and in a good way. When I say it reminds me of Star Wars, I'm talking about the original trilogy. So they're saying we found this prisoner, blah, blah. How long ago did you take this prisoner? 2 days. The other UGC rebels escaped again, but of course they left his body behind.
Fools. They thought death could silence him, but death is our ally, not theirs.
And then, of course, the sycophants are, but Mother, I tried all of the necromantic spells in the old text. I'm afraid we're just too late.
Too late? Perhaps for you fools, but not for me. Watch, boys, I will show you true magic.
Blah, 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 blah. And she does. Of course, she's powerful, and she can, and wakes the dead, and she interrogates. Do not be scared. Mother is here. Tell me, what was your name? Blah, he does. And then, but he tells her this secret truth. She thinks she controls, but it's not just me. There is another, isn't there? Someone helping. Yes, another helping, protecting us with great magic. There is no magic in this galaxy that I do not oversee, no power that I do not control. I am Mother, and the universe is mine. Now tell me, who was protecting the rebels?
Obi-Wan is here. I can feel it. Oh, sorry. We do not know his name. Liar! She's getting all pissed. And, of course, destroying the body, which leaves behind this droid, if you will, head. And they're like, oh, there's something there. What is it? It's a message. So we find out kind of a sender. And that's kind of cool, too. I like that. You start in the story, it jumps you right in, hooks you, doesn't waste your time with anything. You start reading, and then boom. This is a very filmic way to do things, but I like it. A sender. Oh, shoot, this is what I'm reading. Then it's a nice transition. Samson, formerly the largest planet in the United Galactic Council and home of the military center and largest human cities. And we see this little girl. Now, there's some qualities that I like to this. Number one, I'm a huge Hayao Miyazaki fan. If you don't know who that is, he's pretty much the Japanese. He's called the Japanese Disney because he is the grand master of Japanese anime. His films are fantastic. You've probably heard of Spirited Away, won best foreign picture, but it's, he's done things like My Neighbor Totoro. What else did he do? Princess Mononoke. He's done a ton of stuff, but his stuff is mastered. Really, dog? Really? I'm talking about Miyazaki, and you got to start. Look at me. Showboats. So it has sort of this whimsical quality that Miyazaki is famous for, and he understands children, and I like that. And also because this character reminds me of Rey. Now you're going to go, oh, god damn, dang it, Ash. We hate Rey. Okay, I understand. I don't really like Rey either, but I want to like Rey. And disclaimer, I like The Last Jedi. And you're going to be like, oh, click, unfollow, unsubscribe. Please, okay, it's fine. I know you can hate Last Jedi all you want. I can defend Last Jedi all day. I'm not here to argue with that. But I do want to be transparent with my audience so you know where I'm coming from. And if that alters your opinion or your views of my opinion, I guess so be it. But I think there's a lot to offer in Last Jedi. I don't think it's the maligned film that everyone tries to make it out to be, but I readily admit that Rey is a Mary Sue character, hugely a big problem, and it's kind of ruining everything that the saga had been up to this point. But taking that away and just putting the film in a vacuum and what things are going on, there's a lot of things about Last Jedi that I love. So, the reason I mention this is because this film presents a female protagonist like Rey, and we're going to see she comes into town and she's like, mother is great, mother loves you, of course, the Empire rules everything. And she's hawking these frost skin furs, some sort of animal. And just like Rey, she's in the desert, she's trying to sell things. Now, she doesn't have a license. Of course, this is a despotic, dystopian, empire. So everyone, of course, lives under tyranny. And this girl is selling it in, there's like a black market. This guy wants to make a deal with her. And, then the guards show up. And they're like, you got a license for this. And then this guy's like, oh, no, I was trying to turn the girl down, and then sells her under the bus. And she lies. She tries to pretend that she, and then, of course, they scan her. And it's like, you don't have a license. So they take her goods. And they send her on her way. They're like, we're merciful. And, count your blessings that, we're merciful and we're letting you go. We're just taking your stuff as punishment. Obviously they're profiting on it because they're corrupt. That's how dystopian environments are. Tyrannies are always that way. This is why, not to get too political, but why socialism is bad. Whenever you have government, a huge, strong, powerful government or whatever, the people that get in there abuse that power, and this is bad. Freedom is the only way. And here this is why we like stories like Star Wars, which is a huge libertarian story about freedom and liberty against despotic empires. So this little girl's like, she back-mouths him a little bit, but then of course gets caught in line. And this character is very believable. She's not like in many lesser comics, the character would mouth off and then would get away with, and it wouldn't make sense. This character tries to a little bit, but then she immediately realizes her place. It all flows. So she hikes back this long into the mountains or whatever, and here comes her dad. Hi, Dad. And he's just, where have you been, Mila? I know where. I was just playing. Playing? All afternoon? Sorry, I didn't mean to. What the hell is this? And he's like seeing her arm. Your rune is showing. You tell me what happened right now. I went down to this swap town and the militia stopped me, but I'm fine, Dad. Fine? Mila, what were you thinking? And then she's getting, angry. And the artist here does a fantastic job of facial expression. And this is kind of a modern thing with modern comics. I complain a lot about modern comics that they're lacking dynamicism. They don't have the kinetic energy in the layouts and paneling that superhero comics are known for. The Marvel way, as we like to call it. But one thing that a lot of that modern comics often do well, at least the good modern comics, is they hire a different type of strength artist, and those are the ones that can draw emotional expressions, faces. So I appreciate that. It's also a very strong skill that female audiences tend to prefer. I say tend, I'm not trying to pigeonhole anyone, but it's why it's very common. Image comics obviously tend to resonate a lot with the female audiences. These type of books resonate to that more. But I also appreciate it too. And I really like this here, this I don't know what this obstinance, I guess is the best word, in her face. You could just see it. She's like, I was thinking that I was bored out of my mind, and here you just let me agree to become saved, and I could go downtown, go to school, and all. And he's just like, you don't know what you're saying. I do too. Who cares if I believe in Mother or not? At least I wouldn't have to live up here with the hermits anymore. I will never submit to that monster. Do you hear me? We are free, and as long as I have anything to say about it, we'll stay free. And of course, just like a real child, and I live with a girl maybe slightly younger than her, children don't get the real world. Like, their view of the real world is very, very limited, right? By design, they haven't lived very long. They don't see everything, so their perception is skewed. It's not a bad thing, it's just the way things are. A lot of times, bad writers in modern comics can't write this way, though, right? They write these little children characters with their view of the world. They may be 30 years old, and they have a perception of a 30-year-old in the world, so their characters, even the kids, see the world like a 30-year-old, and then it rings totally false. But this is a girl who sees the things the way a kid does, very idealistic, doesn't understand. He's like, about Mother, look where it got Mom. If she were still alive to hear you talk like that. And you can see the sorrow now in his face. More than anyone I ever knew, your mom hated that woman and everything she stood for. And then we get this really kind of a nice, kind of a flashback. You can see kind of what's in his mind when he was younger. Here's his younger self. And he's remembering her. And you just kind of feel the sorrow, like, oh. And it's interesting here, too, we notice that she's got these green eyes. So he just seems like a normal Joe. But these green eyes are very striking. I believe that's important in the storytelling to indicate you just had a drink. Okay. To indicate to the viewer, like, oh, she's something special. And therefore, her kid might be something special, right? Storytelling technique. She gave her life so you could grow up free. Of course, this kid doesn't get it. And of course, he hasn't explained it to her everything yet because she's too young. And so the cycle continues of her misunderstanding. And this is, children just have to trust in their parents. And it's this ongoing struggle. If you have kids, you understand what I'm talking about. And of course, she's like obstinate and throws a fit and I'm not hungry, blah, blah. And he's, Mila. Meanwhile, we cut back to the bad guys. Now, this video is kind of running long, so I'm going to try to skip it up. We see the mother cuts her hand, does a ceremony, and she speaks to the other past mothers who were before her. And they're like, daughter, 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 daughter. What do you want, bitch? And you're like, what? Mothers, I summon you, da da da. And this, okay, I'm comparing to Star Wars a lot. Number one, this girl Mila is the Rey that I wish we would have got. Number two, I like this villain. This is the Snoke that I wish we would have had. I like that she's conveying with these past mothers, which could have been like Sith Lords, right? And she's conveying, and they're all evil, but now they're dead, and they all have the same motive, and she's the only alive one, so they don't really like her because evil people don't really get along. But she's the only instrument of their motivation, so they kind of have to help her. And it's interesting, she has a conversation with one of them. She's like, that's why I killed you in your sleep. You're like, oh, shit. You know? Because one of them was like mouthing off and like, I should have been the one to lead the galaxy to, da da da. And she's like, you were weak. That's why I killed you. You're like, oh, damn. So she brings the head of the robot and she's summoning, and they're like, oh, there's something going on. They're still out there. And beware the hound, da 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 da. And then the sycophant, of course, is like, what does it mean, Mother? I do not know yet, Vix, but I will. We are going to Nish. I will speak with the king. Of course, Mother. And this is interesting. You have the concept of a bootlicker, right? So we got this guy. He's like a palm licker. He's licking the blood off her palm that she cut. So back to our protagonist who's looking off into the distance. All you need to hear is like two little sons. Dun, 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 right? You know what I'm talking about. Like, it's evoking all these things that I love about Star Wars. It's not copying Star Wars per se, but it's evoking the qualities and things like this author learned. And then we see her narrative, and I love how they do kind of a children's writing thing here. There has to be more than this. There just has to be. Why couldn't I have been born when we still had spaceships and shift drives? Ooh, interesting. There used to be technology. It's gone. Why? Because the mother can dominate the galaxy with her magic that she controls. And if anyone had technology, maybe they could rival her. Why couldn't I have been before the harvesters took it all away and before Mother was born? Interesting. What would it have been like to be alive when robots walked among us? And she's going across this whole thing. And she's exploring in the woods and stuff. And it's like, what does she say? I never thought I would actually get an answer, but I was wrong. And she comes across a robot. Dun, dun, dun. To be continued. Now, this was I don't want to say fantastic. Okay. This is a solid 4-star book. And by the way, I'm going to go back to my star reviews. I went away from it because I was like, I'm going to go back because the whole thumb up. So I'm doing a rating system. 3 stars is just like a solid average every day. Just it's a comic book. If I give it 3 stars, it doesn't mean it's bad, but it just doesn't mean it's anything to write home about. It's just an expected standard book. If you're really into that book, like if you're like, say, Spider-Man, you're like, I love Spider-Man, and I get Spider-Man 3 stars, just consider it like, oh, you'll probably like it better than me because you're predisposed to like it, right? If you hate Spider-Man, I give it 3 stars, then it's probably something to stay away from because you don't like Spider-Man already, and it's just an average book. 4 is for a good book. 4 is like what we want, like good. That's what we hope to get. And then 5 stars will be for those excellent books that come along once in a while. You know, your Batman, White Knight sort of things. So 2 stars is just not very good, and 1 star is just gutter trash, like Heroes in Crisis, most of Marvel Comics, America, Gabby Rivera, just think of the worst comics. Anyway, so this is a 4-star book. It shies away from being 5-star, but that's not a penalty. Don't ever think like, oh, if it's not 5, like I want to save 5 stars to make an impact. I love this art, but I'm concerned that this art doesn't fit the comic. Being a sci-fi fantasy, Star Wars-esque type thing, I would have liked to see a different art style. However, that's purely subjective. You may not be bothered by that. In a vacuum, I do like it. Just like looking at this and not knowing anything, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like the aesthetic. I just, for me and my perspective, this doesn't seem fitting. But that's just like I said, that's my opinion. This story has like I said, I wish Rey was this character. This kid has problems. She's not a perfect, You know, she has a lot to learn. You can see. Look at this. Even has, oh, that's not a helmet, but it's the robot thing she finds. Look, she's got a staff. I mean, there's so many parallels. So if you are a person like me who loves Star Wars, you like that type of story. If you like space fantasy, that's what this is. If you like the hero's journey story, you like the myth in these like space, like all this stuff that this probably book is for you, worth checking out. I think I'm gonna start picking this up. I wasn't gonna. I was like, at first I read, I was like, okay, this is good. And then when I skimmed it again, and now I'm doing this review, it's like really imprinting on me that I want to follow this more. I don't think I'm going to pick up in hard covers though, or hard copies. One thing that Image does that I really like is they do digital 1 month behind at 50% off. So that means right now you should be able to get this book on Comixology for $1.99. The current issue will be $3.99 until the next issue comes out, and then that issue will drop to $1.99. So that means you can buy Image Comics for cheaper, half price, as long as you're willing to be on a little bit of a delay, which I'm more than happy to be on a little bit of a delay because my backlog is ginormous. But I think I really want to follow this. This is a recommended book. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this was informative. I know a lot of people might not even watch this video because it's not, Batman or Spider-Man, Marvel or DC. So it's like, oh, it's independent comics. But independent comics have value. I'm a big superhero guy. I want my Marvel or DC. I'm a bigger DC today because Marvel's just shit in the bed. But I want my shared universe, and I love superheroes. And the big two have nailed it. When they're at their best, they've nailed it. But that doesn't mean that that's all I ever want, right? I have room in my life for other types of comics. So I'd say like if 20% of my pool is this sort of thing, I'm happy. 80%, give me my superheroes, and then spice it up a little bit with this sort of stuff. So this is a good book, worthy of your attention, 4 stars. Tell me what you think in the comments below. And I'll be happy to engage and let's have a conversation. Also, don't forget I got a Discord server that I'm share. Currently, I'm partnered with Comics Quirks. If you have a channel yourself that's like mine or Comic Quirks, and you're interested in partnering up and want to have like your channel featured on there too, and I want to create a network, get in touch with me, and we'll talk more. Thanks for watching. I know this was kind of long, but hopefully it was somewhat entertaining. I think I did okay. Maybe. I don't know. I'll stop blathering now. Thanks for watching. See ya. It's time for another JL8 webcomic, number 41 by Yale Stewart. I bet you're jealous of my new suit. I bet I'm not. I think you're jealous. Well, I'm not. Yuh-huh. Nuh-uh. Yuh-huh. Nuh-uh. Yuh-huh. Nuh-uh. Yuh-huh. Nuh-uh. You can't beat me at this. You're totally jealous. I know.